Welcome to Taormina, Sicily. Hi, I'm Megan, a licensed tour guide and travel content creator, and I have to admit that Taormina, Sicily was never on my radar until I visited last year, and I absolutely fell in love. This is an area that is steeped in history, delicious food, and of course, the Ionian Sea. So if you love the water, this will be a paradise. I wanted to share it with you and share some things that I wish I knew before I visited for the very first time so that you can have your very best Taormina experience. But before we get started, make sure that you click subscribe so you never miss a travel minute.
Yeah, love and talk. Love and talk. Love and talks, bringing healing to those who need the most.
Taormina is located on the east coast of Sicily, and it's perched on a cliff overlooking the Ionian Sea. It became a popular tourist destination as early as the 1700s, when young European aristocrats stopped by on their grand tour. Today, it's still a popular tourist destination for the rich and famous, and it recently saw a surge in tourism thanks to the television show The White Lotus. Whether you're staying for a day on a multi-day cruise through the region or staying for a week to soak in the glorious views, it'll quickly become easy to see why Taormina is known as the Pearl of the Ionian Sea.
Taormina, Sicily is full of rich history, and if you love history, you have to visit the ancient amphitheater here. This amphitheater dates all the way back to the 3rd century BC, and its stages have seen everything from Greek plays to Roman gladiatorial matches. And when you could watch Roman gladiatorial matches here, as many as 5,000 people could fill these seats. So it was sort of like an ancient Roman Radio City music hall. Today, it is still very much a working theater. They are currently setting up for a film festival. Last year, we saw an opera, Turandot, performed here, and celebrities such as Elton John and Duran Duran have performed at this amphitheater. You can also, of course, visit, learn about the archaeology of the site, and take tours. One thing to know about visiting the ancient theater is that there's a lot of stairs. They're stone and they are uneven. It's not incredibly ADA compliant. We saw them carrying a wheelchair down the stairs. So bring your comfy shoes and come prepared to walk. For shopping, check out Corso Umberto. Corso Umberto is this bustling street. It's open extremely late, at least by American standards. It's currently 9:30 p.m. We've walked past here at 10 p.m. and almost all the stores are still open. The shopping ranges from souvenir shops where you can get like traditional Sicilian trinkets to high-end stores such as Loro Piana, Louis Vuitton, and Dior. It's also lined with lots of restaurants and bakeries, so it's a really cool place to explore in Taormina. As you walk around Taormina, you're going to see these heads that have been transformed into vases. They're all over. You'll see them in restaurants, you'll see them in gift shops, you'll see them lining the street, you'll see them in homes. So what are these heads? Well, this goes back to an old legend or story, and I've heard different versions of this story. One version is that there was a beautiful woman who fell in love with a Moorish man, and he had to return back home. And she was so jealous that he was going to leave her that she decided to decapitate him and transform his head into a vase, in which she planted a basil plant. And the story is that she cried so hard, so many tears into this basil plant that it grew to be huge and everybody admired it and they wanted their very own head vases. So that's how these kind of came to be. Another story is that the woman and the man were star-crossed lovers. The woman's father disapproved of the Moorish man, so he decapitated them both as a warning and transformed, I guess, their heads into vases. So here we have the heads of our decapitated lovers. Let me know which legend you believe, and if you've heard another version, feel free to put it in the comments. Another interesting symbol that you'll see around Taormina is this weird symbol, which is a woman with all of these legs, and you'll notice some snakes here. This is actually a Medusa Medusa head, and Sicily really adopted a lot of Medusa, from my understanding, as a bit of its symbolism, and part of that is supposed to represent its strength and power over its enemies, and also the fact that it chose such a unique and sinister mythological character shows the strength and the resilience of the Sicilian people. I discovered Taormina, Sicily because people kept telling us how beautiful the beaches in Sicily were. So I started doing research and I thought, whoa, they are really, really beautiful. And we talked to some people who were really familiar with beaches in Sicily, and they told us that the public beaches in Sicily are a little bit different than the public beaches in Florida for the most part. So in Florida, you just, bring your stuff, you plop down on the sand, and voila, you have a beach day. But in Sicily, most of the public beaches, you don't just show up and plop down, you show up and you rent a beach chair, and that's your beach chair for the whole day. And sometimes people rent these beach chairs very far in advance, and it could be very stressful trying to get a beach chair. So they suggested, if we didn't want to deal with that, if we really wanted to just, focus on being at the beach every day, perhaps the best choice for us was to find a hotel that had its own private beach. So I started looking, I went on the internet, and then I found this awesome cave leading to a beach, and I thought, oh my goodness, this is where I want to stay. This is UnaHotels Capotaormina, and at least to me, it feels so luxurious. Some scenes from White Lotus were even filmed here. They were filmed at the San Domenico Palace, and they were also filmed here at Capotaormina. What really drew us here was the fact that it does have a private beach. So there's a private beach, it has rocks and pebbles on it. We'll get more into that in a bit. And the views, they were beyond my wildest dreams, how gorgeous these views are from the beach. So the way that it works, there is the beach where you can go swimming. Then there's another area where you can go swimming. You just kind of jump off a platform, or most people use a ladder. You see all of these beautiful fish. And then there is this glorious pool. Oh my goodness, it is crazy. And at Capotaormina, there is this glorious buffet breakfast included. There's also a restaurant called Le Grand Bleu, which has amazing views, including a view of Mount Etna. And our very first night here, we got to see Mount Etna erupting, which was a bucket list item for me. I just wanted to start out with, for us, our home base in Taormina was Capotaormina. Taormina itself is on the top of what I would consider to be a mountain. If you look all the way down, that's where you find the ocean, that's where you find the public beaches. So if you're staying in a hotel like Capotaormina, which is on the lower level, like right on the beach, you can run out and go swimming. But if you're staying up in Taormina, you're gonna have to get down to go to the beach. Fortunately, there's a lot of ways of doing this. There is a funicular. You can also take a bus. There are also cabs. The hotel that you're staying at might also have a shuttle to and from one of the beaches. So check that out. Depending on where you're staying and which beach you're going to, the commute down and back should take about 10 minutes each way. I know a lot of people are curious about, when they visit Taormina, is what are some of the public beaches that they can visit while they're here. One of the local favorites is Isola, which is a nature reserve, and it's known as the Pearl of the Ionian Sea. You can approach Isola from the land. The one time that I visited it, we were actually on a boat cruise, and the boat was stopping at different areas for us to explore, and they pulled right next to Isola, and we got to hop in and swim around the water. Something that surprised me, at least about the beaches that we visited in Sicily, I don't want to speak for all of the beaches in Sicily, but the ones that we visited, is that instead of having like really nice sandy beaches, they have rocks And the rocks are lovely, they're beautiful, but they can be a little bit hard on your feet. So what we found a lot of people like to do is get water shoes like this. These are great water shoes. They wrap all the way around your foot. You can wear them swimming. You don't even know they're there while you're swimming. But that way, if you're swimming, if you stand on rocks, you're good. If you're walking around the beach on the rocks, you're good. I bought these off of Amazon for just $7. I'll put a link to them in the comments, and you can also get them at a lot of gift shops here. If you visited Italy before, you know that in general, Italians tend to eat very late, at least by American standards. Oftentimes, the earliest that we could make a reservation at a restaurant was 7:30 p.m. A lot of these restaurants, you can sit down and start eating at 10 p.m. So just come prepared to eat late. Also, tipping is a little bit different than it is in the United States. In the United States, you typically tip between 10 and 20% after a meal. In Italy, my understanding is just leaving a few euro is the norm, or perhaps not even leaving a tip at all. While there might not be tipping the same way that we have it in the United States, when you get your bill, there is going to be something called a Coperto at most restaurants. A Coperto is sort of a cover charge. It's a certain number of euros per head that covers things like bread, olive oil, napkins. It's not a scam. It's something that's just traditionally done in a lot of parts of Italy, including Taormina. So be prepared for your Coperto when the bill comes. Additionally, while the tap water is fine to drink, I found that when you sit down at a restaurant, like they typically don't serve you tap water, they serve you a bottle of mineral water, either still or sparkling, which at least coming from the US was a bit different, where I would normally just order table water. Just be prepared to get your bottle of mineral water. In Sicily, they are really proud of their local foods, which includes things such as swordfish, anything that is pistachio flavored, a dessert called cassata siciliana, and of course the granita. Now the granita is, my understanding is that it's traditionally eaten for breakfast, and it's kind of like this slushy texture. You get it in different flavors. Right now I have lemon and strawberry, and you top it with cream. And then this is the thing that, at least as an American, seems really strange. You eat it with a brioche. So you take your brioche and you dip it into the granita. It is so good. It works so well. So make sure you get one of the granitas. It's impossible to talk about Taormina without also talking about Mount Etna. Mount Etna is this giant volcano. It's over 11,000 feet tall, and it's one of Europe's most active volcanoes. Now, I consider this to be very lucky. On our very first night here, we actually got to see her erupt. There were these giant spews of lava. We were told that the lava went 1,000 feet up in the sky. So that's basically an Empire State Building of lava on top of Mount Etna. And it was this glorious show. But of course, we know that Mount Etna giveth and she taketh away. If you are very, very near that eruption, it can of course be very, very dangerous. So we respect Mount Etna's power. Also, that volcanic ash, we're told, creates this very rich soil that's very good for growing things. We had olive oil, I think, at basically every meal where the olives were grown on Mount Etna. There are also vineyards on Mount Etna, we are told. And if you want to visit Mount Etna, and learn more about her, there are lots of ways to do that, including, of course, tours. There are walking tours, there are bus tours, I think I saw Jeep tours. There are vineyards there that I saw advertised, so you can take a vineyard tour of Mount Etna. And I even saw helicopter tours advertised that go around the summit. Whenever I visit a new country, I'm always a little worried if I'm not fluent in the language, and my Italian is very, very bad. When I came to Sicily, I found that most people speak at least enough English that we could communicate. Sometimes we had to use a lot of like charades, but for the most part, everyone speaks some English. They have been very grateful, however, for my feeble attempts to speak in Italian. I always say try to learn a little bit of the language of the country that you're visiting, and Google Translate will be your best friend because you could always type something into Google Translate and have it translate for you on the spot. I asked one of our waiters at dinner what's one thing he wants people to know about Taormina, and he said he wants people to know that it's safe to get lost. There are all of these like little twisty, turny, windy streets with little shops and hidden restaurants. As we were wandering around, we found this beautiful garden. While we were walking around, we heard live orchestra music being played in this garden, and the waiter said that Taormina is very safe, so it's an okay place to wander around and discover these little secrets. If you come to Taormina in July, like we did, just prepare for the temperatures to be really hot. I think that the coolest it ever got was 89 degrees Fahrenheit, and sometimes it could get above 100 degrees Fahrenheit in Taormina. So you're gonna wanna pack light clothing, light colors, and be prepared if you're doing anything outdoors, such as visiting the ancient Greek amphitheater. It's just gonna be hot. We saw lots of people walking around with fans. Some people even got those little like electric fans and some that squirt water. And I know that they might seem super touristy and cheesy, but they will make a big difference if you're someone who is looking for ways to beat the heat. Getting to Taormina can be a little bit tricky. There are 3 main airports that people primarily use to get to Taormina. Those are
Comiso,
Catania and Palermo. The only one that I've used is Catania, which is about a 40-minute drive away. Now, there are cab options, there are bus options, and there are train options from Catania to the Taormina city center. The only one that I have used is the cab option, and it can be a little bit tricky. This last time we were in the airport and we checked an Uber, and we saw that the Uber said it was going to be 130 euro, which we thought was just wildly expensive. So we opted for a metered cab instead. The metered cab ended up costing 202 euro. We were told that we were somehow scammed in the metered cab. Some people said that there was a fixed rate from Catania to Taormina that should be 130 euro. Our hotel concierge said that it should be approximately 130 euro from Catania to Taormina, but we ended up paying 202 euro. So if you're not ready to spend at least 130 euro, check out the public transportation options. When I told people that I was staying in and around Taormina for a week, a lot of them acted really shocked and said, oh, no. A week, that's way too long to spend in Taormina. You can really spend just like 1, 2, 3 days there. You should go visit some other towns such as Palermo and Siracusa. And the way that I travel, I think they call it slow travel. I could honestly spend a week anywhere and be very, very happy because I really like to soak up the full atmosphere. Also, the primary reason for this trip was we wanted to be by the ocean. We wanted to get away from city life. I live in New York City. We wanted the exact opposite of that. We wanted to decompress and relax. And for that, staying at Capotaormina, being right on the ocean, a week was perfect. However, if you are someone whose method of travel is you just want to check off as many postcard sites as possible, I can see how you could do that in 1, 2, maybe 3 days. You'd be in Taormina, you would see the ancient Greek amphitheater, you'd see some historic churches, you'd shop on the Corso Umberto, you'd eat at some of the restaurants, get your fill, and then move on to other towns in Sicily. But for me, I really enjoyed the full week to soak up all of the Mediterranean sea salt. I hope that this video has helped you plan your very own Taormina vacation. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to click subscribe. It helps me bring you more videos like this. If you have visited Taormina before, please feel free to share your tips, tricks, and advice in the comments below. I also decided to create a little map of the restaurants that we ate at and really enjoyed. I will leave that in the description. Thank you so much for watching and happy travels.